Madness isn't something that happens all at once. It creeps in. It starts with a sound you can't ignore, a space that feels uncomfortably tight, and a light you aren't allowed to touch. Robert Eggers' 2019 masterpiece, The Lighthouse, is not just a movie about two men losing their minds on a rock. It's a deep dive into paranoia and guilt. It uses older camera techniques, an unreliable narrative, and Greek folklore to create a very specific kind of dread. You are trapped on that island with them, and just like the characters, you slowly lose your grip on what is real. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're breaking down everything exceptional about The Lighthouse, including its suffocating cinematography, the unreliable plot, and what exactly happens when you finally look into the light. To understand why The Lighthouse feels so uncomfortable, you have to look at the literal shape of the movie. Director Robert Eggers and the cinematographer Jaron Blansky didn't just put a black and white filter over digital camera. They shot this on 35mm Kodak Eastman XX film stock. Then, they used vintage lenses from the 1930s and a custom orthochromatic filter. This specific filter eliminates all red light, making the actor's skin tone look darker, weathering their faces, and giving the film a crusty, primitive texture. But the real genius is the aspect ratio, 1.19:1. It's almost a perfect square. In a standard widescreen movie, your eyes can drift away. You have breathing room on the left and the right. In The Lighthouse, Eggers strips that breathing room away. The boxy frame forces the actors unnaturally close together, amplifying the tension every time they share a screen. Even more brilliantly, this vertical aspect ratio physically mirrors the shape of the lighthouse itself. It emphasizes the hierarchy of the island. Thomas Wake is at the top with the light, and Winslow is trapped at the bottom in the mud. A psychological thriller relies heavily on its sound design. And in The Lighthouse, the soundscape is anchored by the foghorn. This sound was pitched down to resemble the bellow of a dying sea creature. It blasts repeatedly, interrupting the character's thoughts and preventing us, the audience, from truly settling in. Composer Mark Corwin blended the actual musical score with the natural sounds of the environment, the creaking wood, the squelching mud, and the machinery. It creates a constant oppressive background noise that reflects the character's deteriorating mental states. Now, let's talk about the plot. What is actually happening on the island? The core of The Lighthouse is its unreliable narrative. The film intensely strips away our ability to trust what we see. First, there is the question of time. Winslow believes that it's been a few days since the storm hit, but Wake suddenly claims that they have been stranded for much longer. This disorients Winslow as well as us, the audience. We are forced to ask, are both men losing their minds, or is Wake deliberately manipulating Winslow? For example, late in the film, Wake claims that Winslow was the one chasing him with an axe, directly contradicting what we actually saw. Now, there's no proper evidence in the film to support either of the claims. This is because Robert Eggers designed the entire island to be devoid of objective reality. So these scenes are a bit open to interpretation. But because the camera is strictly tethered to Winslow's deteriorating point of view, we are forced to experience his hallucinations as facts. We also can't discuss Winslow's fractured reality without addressing the Mermaid. But before that, you have to understand that The Lighthouse is a fantasy thriller film. So when talking about the Mermaid, you shouldn't be asking if she is real, but rather, what does she actually represent? Washing up on the rocky shore, she is the ultimate manifestation of the island's psychological toll. She represents Winslow's extreme sexual frustration and his deeply suppressed guilt over his past. But she also serves as a classic siren. Her haunting presence, both alluring and monstrous, pulls Winslow further away from reality. She is the physical embodiment of the ocean's madness, dragging him deeper into the same primal delusions that Wake has already surrendered to. This confusion and madness are deeply rooted in Greek mythology. William Defoe's character Thomas Wake represents Proteus. In mythology, Proteus is the old man of the sea, a shapeshifter who guards knowledge. Wake fits this perfectly. He constantly changes his story, alters the fact of the situation, and serves as the hoarding guardian of the truth, which in this case is the light. Robert Pattinson's character, Ephraim Winslow, represents Prometheus. the titan who stole fire from the gods and was chained to a rock as punishment, having his liver eaten by an eagle every day. Winslow's arc is a desperate attempt to steal the fire from the old god, which is shown by his constant desire to take charge of the light at the top of the tower. The final shot of the film, showing Winslow broken on the rocks while seagulls pick at him, is a direct visual recreation of the punishment of Prometheus. So what exactly is the light? When Winslow finally kills Wake and reaches the top of the stairs, the lens opens. We don't see what he sees, we only hear the sound of a siren, and we watch his face melt into an agonizing scream before he plummets down the stairs. The beauty of the lighthouse is that the light isn't a literal object. It is salvation, knowledge, and madness all wrapped into one blinding beam. Winslow spent the entire film running from his past, his guilt over the man he murdered, and his own collapsing identity. The light strips all of his delusions away. There's a very famous quote in Lord of Mysteries that goes, "Do not pry into the mysteries of God." Humanity cannot comprehend the divine without being destroyed by it. Winslow got exactly what he wanted. He touched the fire of the gods and it burned him to ash. The Lighthouse is a masterpiece of sensory deprivation and psychological decay. It proves that you don't need a massive budget or a CGI monster to terrify an audience. You just need two incredible actors, a brilliant soundscape, and a box you can't escape from. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I would deeply appreciate your support. Let me know what you think of The Light and the overall movie in general. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.